Hello, welcome to CIO Leadership Live Australia. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editorial Director for Foundry in Australia and New Zealand. And my guest today is Hani Arab, who is the Chief Information Officer at Seymour Whyte. Happy 2025, Hani. Hope you're well.
Doing well, thank you very much.
Great to see you again. And of course, the last time we caught up was at the CIO 50, and you're one of our CIO 50 alumni. So hopefully that's got you off to a good start for the year. So look, really keen to find out more, Hani, about your origin story, I guess, how you got your start in tech. And can you take us through your career journey to date?
Sure, absolutely. So as a young person, I was always interested in creative things. Drawing, sketching, and wanted to be either an architect or an engineer. These were sort of probably something early interests that I had. Anyway, I ended up doing an engineering degree, a civil engineering degree, and towards the end of my degree, as part of completing the course, I had to do a thesis on something, and I chose developing an application to design retaining walls from first principles. And it really sparked my interest in computer systems. And it took me at a time where you had to travel to university to use the computer systems. The internet, was quite early on. I remember doing a couple of classes about how to use the internet. And so by the end of that thesis and completing my course, I had this little innate interest in IT. And so I continued my journey to explore systems and do my own self-training on my own whilst working. And over a couple of years working in the construction industry from project to project on civil works or road works or with local council or water, rail, I had experience working with all these different sectors. I became known in the team that I was in that was somebody who was good with IT. And so I'd be if we had a project where there was a technology element, they would automatically say, well, use Hani to lead that piece of work. And so that just evolved over time. And before you knew it, I was working in a company who had a gap, who needed someone to help with the IT, and got given more responsibility. And then I was on a project, then doing a couple of projects, a state. And before you knew it, I was doing Australia, New Zealand, and had a team. And it basically evolved from there.
So you're now the CIO at Seymour Whyte. So it may not be a well-known organization to everyone. So tell us a bit more about the organization, its mission and purpose, and how you and your team support that.
Sure. So it's a great story. I mean, Seymour Whyte is an Australian private company initially from two engineers. John Seymour, Gary White, formed the organisation in Brisbane initially, and it's 30 years plus. And I think in 2017 they were initially publicly listed, but then they were purchased by a company called Vinci, a global organisation which owns about 1,300 companies globally. And so they allow the company to maintain its identity. So we still brand ourselves as Seymour Whyte, but you'll see sometimes they'll have Powered by Vinci at the bottom. And that has really helped the organisation grow exponentially by having the financial backing and being able to now tender for much greater value civil infrastructure works across Australia and have support and specialists in the family of the Vinci Group. So we've seen currently is in the order of 800 to 900 staff members, and we have probably on the go 20 to 25 projects across Australia. And so we do everything from roadworks, bridges. We're doing water utilities. We're moving into energy, and we're starting to look at sort of opportunities in defence. So a diversified portfolio in the construction space, focusing on Australia.
And tell us a bit more then about how you and the team support that.
Yeah, so I was involved in the recent strategy development days, and basically they end up with a strategy on a page with a range of strategic goals and some deliverables and outputs. And so we look at how IT function can support and enable the delivery of those. Some strategic goals more than others. And so then we form projects and initiatives underneath that underpin and help support that. And then we track to how that's progressing to support those. Our strategic plan is recently just been done for start of this year for a 5-year plan, and it gets reviewed every year. One of the biggest things, I suppose, coming into this organization was, the legacy function was around more transactional and more just supporting, keeping the lights on, if you will. And, my goal has always been to try and switch that up and make it more of a business partner, a strategic advisor, a technology advisor, and help have some advisory capability internally and not always seeking to go outside to vendors and partners to help inform how we should embed and enable technology in our environment. So we still use them, of course, but have more of a controlling stake and a more of an influencing position in assessing and defining the technology landscape for our business. And so that's been an evolving journey, multiple workshops with the team and just getting us to shift our mindset around the customer, the business, what our goals are and how we can participate in delivering those goals.
So how is that digital journey tracking? Can you take us through some of the big projects that you and the team have been driving at the organization?
So one of the biggest things that I found coming into the organization, which I think is one of the reasons initially why they were looking for someone to help them, was around the probably lack of investment in IT over many years. They have some core enterprise applications that they've developed internally and maintained, but they just haven't kept up with the investment needed to modernize and keep them fit for purpose. And so looking at that, and there was some hesitancy around investing considerably into software development because of the historical experiences and where that's taken them. And so the different approach was to adopt a low-code development platform and see how we can gain the utility of developing business applications without the heavy burden of developing from first principles. And so we marketed a product called Seymour White Software Platform, SWAP, and we've been building business applications and modernizing certain tools that we currently have in a .NET environment and bringing them across to the new platform and been doing that gradually. So initially we picked one or two use cases, we put it out on a project and basically got them to become the ambassadors and the advocates for what we could achieve with the new SWAP platform. And that's helped provide the momentum and continual investment to continue down that path to modernize some of the core enterprise applications that we've had for probably in the order of 15 years. And so we continue to do that.
So it must have been quite a challenge designing and implementing that SWAP platform. So talk us through that process of designing it and implementing, and what were the kind of roadblocks that you had to overcome?
I think the biggest one was just articulating the benefits and the value and what this thing is, because whilst I can articulate the vision for it and describe what it was in the business case, I think many of the ELT and people involved in helping with sort of deciding this decision making was that for many of them it sounded too good to be true. They said, it just seemed like it was too simplistic, the approach. And I think that's where doing a small use case and then getting the project, the users themselves of the platform advocating of the benefits gave them much more comfort. And in the early phase, when they did put investment in, there was a level of a leap of faith in continuing and deciding to go ahead. But I think since then, seeing the field staff who are using the tool advocating the benefits that it has provided them and the cost saving, the efficiency that's brought to their business, has given them confidence to continue. And recently we renewed agreement for 3 years to continue down the modernization pathway of all our legacy tools. And basically every time we look at a tool, we'll do a small feasibility to say, is this tool is Swap the right modernization platform for this tool, or should it be something else? So we continue to assess that, but we are using that as the first priority. And if we can't make it work, then we look at what is the solution for this other solution, other package or in situ business tool that we want to modernize.
So do you feel then that those, pilot projects and those feasibility case studies that you were talking about there, that they really help get that executive buy-in for projects?
I think absolutely. I think that the fact that because we're here to serve the people on the front line, the guys on projects are the ones that you can imagine we serve them. They generate the revenue for the business. They are customer facing. And so if you get those people advocating and verifying the value, it goes far beyond something on a paper from an ROI perspective, because these guys are verifying and validating that there is actually benefit. So absolutely, that carried a lot of weight to continue down this pathway.
So you've outlined that, you are focused on that internal development, but you do obviously have partners as well as part of your IT strategy. So what role do they play, and how do you decide, Hani, who you're going to partner with, which vendor or MSP? How do they provide value from your perspective?
So I think it's use case by use case, but generally speaking, it goes back to relationships. It's about being able to, whether you've worked with them in the past or you're being referred to you. I also like to work with vendors who are specialized and stay away from, people who are everything to everyone. I like to, be able to leverage the expertise and the experiences of vendors that you can partner with, and that's specifically why you're bringing them on board. There are certain things that you do in a development pipeline where you say, if you're going to design the architecture or the foundations, you may do that once. And so as an organization with my internal resources, I'd rather get support with a consultant who's done this many, many times and get their input so we get the foundation right, and then we can continue on. So it depends on the use case, and there's a variety, I suppose, of influencing factors that help decide who to choose and who to partner with. But I suppose what is consistent is there's always a need for that augmentation and that support outside of the internal team.
And you've mentioned, the legacy tech that, you've been dealing with, and how do you balance, I guess, addressing those legacy tech issues, the immediate needs of the business, with, longer term innovation that you might want to pursue?
At the moment where we are as an organization, there is a lot of technical debt. And so we are putting a fair bit of energy in those areas. It's just probably consuming, 50, 60% of effort and focus. But the rest of the time, as part of enabling the modernization, we do have to look forward to adopt cloud technologies and other cyber technologies as well to support the modernization journey. So there's sort of some dependencies and relationships that then force you to look at that as well as part and parcel of the modernization of legacy debt. So we're doing that, as well as, we look at the fast-moving pace of IT, and we've seen, in the last year or so, what AI is doing to every industry. It's something that you can't avoid. And so you're always looking at what's happening and seeing what bits of those technology elements that you can bring on early, and what are the more wholesale adoption that take a bit more time, and you got to know when to adopt based on your risk profile. And so things like, for example, Microsoft Office or Copilot, we've adopted that as a tool, a fairly low risk. It's in, we're an Office 365, shop. And so it's very native, very low risk, and we adopt it, and it gives people a taste of what it can do. But there are some other more specific industry opportunities where you can embed AI, whether it's from the pre-contracts phase or design or in the delivery side, which are very specialized and therefore need greater consideration. And so they're things that we will continue to monitor and then determine when is the best time to invest and adopt some of those things. So there's a bit of a balanced approach there, looking at your risk profile, looking at what the immediate needs are. When I look at our environment at the moment, I think there is a greater focus on the immediate legacy stack rather than future focus. However, there is a global Vinci project called Connect, which is harmonizing our ERP powered by SAP S/4HANA. And so that is another focus area for this year. So that's something that the team is supporting as well. We do have support out of Paris as well. And without them, we wouldn't be able to do it on our own. So balancing those two things is really the focus for this year. Modernizing the legacy stack, supporting the Connect rollout are some of the big areas of focus.
Yeah, you mentioned the AI trend there, and I still laugh when I think about a sign that I saw on the side of a building that said, AI can't build this building, and they were recruiting for the construction industry. But look, there is a lot of buzz about AI, but are there any other emerging technologies or trends that you see within the construction and engineering industry that think further down the line could have some merit for Seymour Whyte that you're excited to explore?
Oh, look, there's been many things. I mean, if you look at the things of the whole BIM, digital twins, the use of photography through drone acquisition, all those things we are involved in. So different projects are doing different things. For example, we have this project starting up in Brisbane. It's a dam project, and we've recently acquired a drone in a box to be fixed permanently on the dam. It's quite a remote location, and so that can fly autonomously, a couple of times a day, whatever we decide on a schedule, where we can do pickups of the environment, and so you get progress of work done, quantity movement, and all sorts of things. Using that sort of same type of cameras on projects to monitor safety behaviour, to see truck movements, to see that people are wearing safety gear, to see people aren't moving into restricted areas and flagging those. So all those sort of technology elements converging to create really powerful solutions. And so we are constantly seeing that year on year. And it's some of those things we try on certain projects, and then when we deem them reliable, and provide the return on investment, that's when we adopt and create a standardized rollout across the business.
Now, I know team culture is very important to you. And, in a previous role, it was, I think you and the team won an award for great team culture in our CIO 50 award. So talk us through your approach to getting the best out of your team, and what are some ways that you're looking to build and maintain a great team culture at Seymour Whyte?
Look, at the managing the team and encouraging the team and supporting the team is definitely one that requires continual effort and is very powerful if you can get the results that you seek. For me, it's been getting to know the team on an individual level, understanding their motivators, and allowing them autonomy, allowing them a space for personal development, and then sharing or creating with them a purpose. And so at the very start, our purpose was around enabling the business becoming this digital agency within Seymour Whyte, and shifting the perspective of the old function to the new one of being more than just transactional. Log a ticket, send you a laptop, or it's all a bit of software. It's about being involved in the discussion in a room before you even get on a project, and talking about the challenges of the project, and having the technology voice in there to say, well, potentially technology can help here. And so that was setting the purpose. I recall even at the very beginning, repurposing or rebranding the function name. They used to be called IT, rebranded them to ICT. We had a help desk, rebranded it to service desk. And the reason for that small change was just to give it a new identity and just to give a new purpose, and encourage the team to be more engaging with. It's not easy, it's a continual trying to motivate and get them to see the value of that shift. But it's a journey, and we're working through that, and I continue to do so.
So what has been your biggest learning so far then from leading your ICT team at Seymour White?
I would say that you get given a perspective of the current state, and then when you go into the organization and you get time to embed, there's always potentially a disconnect, and there was a disconnect and you can almost see why the team has ended up in a certain way just through the conditions and the environment, and so having I suppose a new leader with a new perspective and helping them to change that perspective and mindset. I think the learning for me was that that the way the conditions have occurred, there's a backstory, and so it's going to take time to shift that current state, and get to the future state that you envision. And it just takes time. It can't be done as quick as you might like when you're talking about cultural shifts and mindset. And that's something that we're working through and continue to do so. Obviously you're doing it within certain constraints as well, whether they're financial or business constraints. But the good thing is that there's a lot of opportunity and the business is growing, and so that affords the opportunity to do more, and so we continue to do so.
So we're fresh into 2025. So what are the big goals for this year that you and the team have in mind? Well, what are you going to be focusing your efforts on?
A couple of things. So, we want to move all our on-prem. We have a lot of on-prem workloads. We want to, by the end of the year, have the majority of them, at least 80% in the cloud. The second one is support the Connect project, which is our ERP, our SAP S/4HANA going live in January 2026. That is a big piece of work, as anyone who's ever done a major ERP migration or implementation knows. So that's massive. So doing that. And then the third piece is just continue down that modernization pathway, leveraging SWAP and creating efficiency for our frontline team members. I think across those three pillars, and again, when we do those modernization pieces, it's not a like for like, it's a re-engineering and looking for optimization in business process and business rules and that sort of thing. So across those three things, I think that is more than enough to focus on this year.
Well, a lot done, a lot more to do. Hani Arab, Chief Information Officer at Seymour White, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Kathy.